Hello, lovely learners. Welcome to the Joy Learning Basic Classroom. With me, your English facilitator, Eva Brobe. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Joy Learning TV for more of our videos on our lessons. We have English today, and this is a Basic 5 classroom. We are looking at oral language, under which we'll be looking at poems. Let's first go through our lesson outlines for the day. We start our lesson like we always do with our starter, our learning indicator, the main activities under which we shall be looking at central messages in poems and the values that we get in poems. Then I ask you a few questions, you do some exercises for me, and we go through what we have learned for the day. Please get your pen, your book, your paper, whatever you want to write on, your notebook ready, and let's start our lesson, because today's lesson promises to be very, very interesting. Remember, in our previous lesson, we learned a very, very important song that is sung in most of our schools, if not all of our schools. This is a common song and is a patriotic song. Remember, we did songs in our previous lesson. So I would want, as a form of reminder, I want to sing this song with me. In a few minutes, let's just go through the song that we did. It is Arise Ghana Youth for Your Country. Yes, that song that we learned. I hope you have remembered. Now, in just a few minutes, let's quickly go through the song and then we zoom into our lesson for today. Are you ready? If you are, I am. Okay, let's go. Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold her and make her great and strong. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building our motherland. That was great. You have done really, really well. Now let's look at what we are going to learn for today. Our lesson objectives for today. Today, we are learning 1, to recite poems with correct stress and rhythm. Yes. And then 2, discuss the central messages in poems. And then the last one, we'll also look at the values that we get in poems and relate it to our everyday life. That is what we are going to do today. And I have a very, very interesting poem for you. But before that, let's go through our keywords for the day. Our first keyword is central message. Remember, we mentioned this word also when we're doing songs. Central message, values, stress. These are just the few words that we'll be going through in the course of our lesson. We shall be meeting them in the course of our lesson. And then the last one is rhythm. Because we are dealing with poems, we shall be looking at stress, rhythm, the central message, and some values that we get in the poem. Now, like I said, I have a very, very interesting poem for you today. This poem talks about us. I mean us, and then the environment that we find ourselves in. Let's look at what the poem entails, or what is contained in the poem. Now, the title of the poem is Let's Preserve Our Nature. I wish you can say that with me. Go. Preserve our nature. Very good. Now, as we go through the poem, there are some pictures attached to the poem that will give you some imaginations in your head, some pictures in your head about the poem. It is a 3-stanza poem. When I say a 3-stanza poem, I mean that poem is in 3 parts, and we shall be looking at all 3 parts of the poem. If you are ready, I'm ready. Now I'm going to read it for the first time. Then when I finish, I do it with you. I hope that is all right. Now let's take the first part of the poem. Let's preserve our nature. The sun is shining. The sky is blue. The birds are flying. And the breeze is so cool. This is the first part of the poem. Now let's move on to the second part of the poem. Again, there are some pictures attached to the poems like you see on your screen. As you read the poems, as you go through the lines of the poems, also look at the pictures that are attached so that they will give you some mental picture of what we want or what we are trying to say. We are looking at the second part of the poem. Mother Nature is trying her best to give nothing but beautifulness. But what do? Make her a mess. The last part of the poem, or the last stanza of the poem. Let's make her the best by polluting less and less and preserve her green dress for our kids and the rest. I told you it's a beautiful poem, a very beautiful one. Now, we are going to recite the poem and add a little rhythm to it. Now, that's what we are going to do. We are going to recite the poem together, but as we recite, we clap along to give it a rhythm, a soothing one, not just any clap. So you can go with me. Can we start? Okay, let's start. The sun is shining. The sky is blue. The birds are flying. And the breeze is cool. Good. Let's do same to the second part of the poem. Mother Nature is trying the best to give nothing but beautifulness. Are we on? Yeah. But what do? Make her a mess. Good. You are doing really well. Now the last part or last stanza of the poem. Let's make her the best by polluting less and less and preserve her green dress for our kids and the rest. That was a very good try. Now, like I said, this poem is a very interesting one because it speaks a lot to us and the environment we find ourselves in. Now, we are going to do a very short exercise. We are going to take the poem part by part or stanza by stanza and try and discuss the poem. Each stanza contains its own message for you and I. And what message are we getting out of the poem? What is the poem telling us? The sun is shining. The sky is blue. The birds are flying. And the breeze is so cool. Now, what the first part of the poem is trying to tell us is that we have a lot of things surrounding us. The shining sun, the blue sky with birds flying in them. And these things are creating a very cool breeze for us. The mountains are there, the rivers are there, and everything good that Mother Nature has to offer us as humans. Now, because we are on this earth, we can't live without the things Mother Nature has for us. And these are some of the things that Mother Nature has for us. The second part, Mother Nature is trying everything possible to make you and I comfortable wherever we find ourselves. And Mother Nature is doing this through her beautifulness. Look at the beautiful mountains surrounding us with the beautiful trees, the rivers, the streams, the lakes, every other thing that gives humans the comfort that we need on this earth that we are in. But we are not doing Mother Nature any good. Why? Because we are making a mess out of Mother Nature. When I say a mess, it means that we are destroying those beautiful things that Mother Nature has given to us. You want to know how we do that? You know. I also know. There are lots of ways that we do this to destroy the beautifulness that Mother Nature has created for you and I. Yes, throwing rubbish into gutters, Galamsey is another, destroying water bodies. Now, we are cutting down trees to produce these chairs that we sit on in our houses, in the classroom, even at church. There are lots of things we do. Mother Nature is not saying don't use her things. Use them, but when you use them wisely. Make good use of them. Those ones that need to be replaced, we should replace them when the time arises. And not make a mess of what Mother Nature has given to us free of charge. Now, these are the things that we can do to help Mother Nature contain and make sure it even gives us more of the things she has already given us. What do we do? We have to do our best. And how do we do that? By polluting Mother Nature less and less. All our bad activities that are spoiling, destroying, damaging the good things Mother Nature has given to us, we should try as much as possible to reduce it. Or better still, we should stop them so that Mother Nature can be free and even give us more. And when we do that, we preserve her nice, beautiful green dress that she's wearing. Other than that, we turn her green dress into another color which does not suit Mother Nature. When we do this, we are living a very comfortable, a very nice and beautiful place for our kids and the others that will follow. So we don't enjoy alone, but we also leave some for the people who will come after us. This is all that our poem is telling us to do. Now, with everything that we have said, I would want you in just 1 minute, write down any lesson you have learned out of this poem we just went through. In 1 minute, write what you have learned from the poem we have just gone through. And our time starts now. Welcome back, lovely learners. Unfortunately, our time is up. Now, what were you able to write down? What lesson did you learn out of the poem we just went through? I'm going to show you mine. You also go through yours as I show you mine. Now, these are some of the lessons that we can learn out of the poem we just read or went through. 1, we should take good care of our environment. I hope you heard that, because all that the poem talks about is our environment and how we can preserve or keep it for us, our kids, and the others that will follow. Now, 2, we should also bring awareness to environmental protection. We shouldn't do anything that will put the environment in danger. Nothing at all. No behavior of ours should put the environment in danger. Because as the saying goes, when the last tree dies, the last man dies. So if we put our environment in danger, we are also putting ourselves in danger. We should rather protect the environment rather than putting the environment in danger. Then the last lesson we can learn is that we should help the earth. We should help make the earth beautiful and protect its natural resources. And what are some of these natural resources? The water bodies, the mountains I mentioned, the trees, and every other thing that nature gave to us that we didn't create ourselves. because we can't create anything on our own unless we create out of what nature has given us. So we should help the earth and make it beautiful and also protect its natural resources. We should protect our water bodies, we should protect our trees, we should protect our mountains, we should protect even the minerals that we get out of the earth that we are on, so that it will rather bring us good and not harm. I hope you got some of these in your answers as well. If you didn't, I've provided you some. If you have, add what I have also to yours. Now again, what values, what important points did the poem bring out? What important points, were mentioned in the poem that we went through? I would want you to also write those ones also down. And I'm giving you a minute to think about and write as well. And we'll come back in 1 minute. Welcome back, learners. Did you get some of the values? I hope you sure did. Yeah, now let's go through some of the values that we can find in the poem. Some important points that the poem spills out. Now, the first value I would say the poem talks about is commitment. Yes, commitment. We have been given some things free of charge by Mother Nature. What are we doing to protect those things that we have been given? So we've been given natural resources, we've been given mountains, we've been given water, we've been given trees, we've been given all these things. Now, what are we doing? Are we making a mess of it? Are we going to make a mess of it? Or we are going to help it come alive? That is commitment. It brings out some form of commitment in the poem. Then 2, preservation. Preservation. How are we able to keep these things for future use? Keep them and keep them well for future use. Again, when the last tree dies, the last man dies. Remember that. Don't forget that. So whenever we are doing harm to these natural resources that Mother Nature has given us, let's keep that in mind. That whatever we are doing, if we don't suffer for it, our children are going to suffer for it, or even our children's children will suffer for whatever we are doing now. So instead of damaging them, we should rather preserve them. We should keep them and keep them well, so that others will also have access to what we have. Then our love for nature. Rather than making a mess of nature, we should rather help it put on a more green dress instead of destroying the green dress Mother Nature is already wearing. We should love nature. It speaks about our love for nature. Then it also speaks about patriotism. Patriotism, being loyal to Mother Nature, being loyal wherever you find yourself, being loyal in whichever environment you find yourself. And how are we going to be loyal to the environment we find ourselves? Preserving it. When we cut down trees, we should what? Replant them. That is afforestation. When we go to the riverside, we shouldn't wash in them, and we shouldn't send our animals into the rivers for them to drink from them. Because when we do that, they defecate, they do other things in the river, and this destroys the river. The Galamsey people, we should also tell them that they should desist from the things they do because they are causing harm not to us alone, but to even the living things that live in the water. When these chemicals are mixed in the water, they also can't stay in there, and so they die. When they die, we lose fish. And so when mommy is going to buy fish from the market, when she goes, they'll tell her, now fish is expensive because you are not getting. Why? Because of the activities of some people. We should be patriotic, we should be loyal to the things that have been handed down to us. Yes. This is where time will allow us, but I'm not leaving you like that. After going through that nice, interesting poem, I am not going to leave you like that. There are 3 stanzas of the poem. This is what I want you to do for me. Let's write some lines of the poem. You can take the first stanza, you can take the second or even the third. Now, when you finish writing it, it should be off head, no cheating. It should be off head. When you finish writing it, you also try and come out with some values, that stanza you have been able to write, that part of the poem you have been able to write, some values that we get out of those stanzas that you have written or those lines that you have written. And if possible, relate those values that you have written to your everyday life, how you should live in order to preserve Mother Nature. Don't forget that the poem tells us to do what? To preserve nature. And it will take your effort, it will take mine. Now, when you finish with this, kindly email it to us at joylearningtv@myjoyonline.com. We'll have them. If not, you can also show it to mommy, you can show it to daddy, you can show it to any other sibling or anybody who cares to look at it for you. You can send them to us and we'll give you a feedback on how you fared. Again, this is where time will allow us bring our lesson to a close. But before we go, what have you learned today? Today we have been able to go through a very interesting poem. We added some rhythm to it. We discussed the central messages, the lessons that you can learn out of the poem that we discussed. And we also came out with some values that the poem has brought out. And just about the values, we didn't just mention the values, we also related these values to our everyday life. This has been your English language facilitator, Eva Brobe. For more of our videos, like I say always, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Joy Learning TV. Till we meet again, it's bye-bye.